Good evening, everyone. My name is Shelley Howard, and I am the founder and CEO of College Ready. And I have a special guest this evening, or Sheri, I'm your special guest, but Sheri Gazit, welcome, and so excited to have you.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is a topic that not a lot of people talk about, so I'm excited to dive in a little bit later.
Excellent. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We realize that everybody has busy lives, and of course, we're recording. So please know we're super excited you are here. To kick it off, I'm going to talk about some topics about, how to help your child prepare for college. Sheri's going to pick it up from there and talk about some of the emotional, some of the social, the really important stuff before they launch, right? So super excited to have you. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let's see. That's not what I wanted. All right. We are good to go. All right. So as you can see on my screen, See Our Future Now was created. It's a sister company of College Ready because what we found after COVID is that a lot of students were struggling with a lot of different things that they hadn't struggled before. So instead of just talking about college admissions, I wanted to broaden it a little bit and then I'll take it back in. So briefly, a little bit about myself. I started College Ready 17 years ago when my firstborn was in the 8th grade, and he had huge excitement coming into high school. And he says, like, Mom, I know exactly what I want to do and exactly where I want to go. And I'm like, really? Because I know a lot of adults who are still trying to figure it out. And he said, yes, I do. And I want to go to one of those top colleges and I want to be a brain surgeon. And then he walked away. And I was like, oh my gosh, I started to panic. Well, because I had 3 kids after him, I realized that wasn't always the case. So I and my team have been helping families, parents, students, just like you, get into college and graduate debt free. But my story ended with such a great situation that I wanted to start there because a lot of people are overwhelmed and stressed out because on social media, you're getting a lot. There's a lot coming in. And that young man, my firstborn, he ended up going to Harvard 4 years and graduating debt-free, pre-med, went on to UC San Diego Medical School, and is now an orthopedic at UCLA. But as I mentioned, I have 3 others. And one went to University of Alabama, and one went to San Francisco State, and one is studying at AAU in Prague. The common denominator, they'll all graduate debt-free. So everybody wanted to know, how did you do that? And I'm going to show you because I'm going to first show you how to get there. And then I'm going to tell you what colleges want. And then Sheri's going to wrap it all up for us. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. So we want you to know that we understand that your child may not know, right? They're teenagers. How to pick a major, how to pick a college, how to pick a career, how to do it without debt. Like there's a lot of overwhelm and stress with this. And I just want you to know it doesn't have to be that challenging. We can help families figure out how to navigate the entire process, including the financial piece. So as I mentioned, my son, now being a doctor without debt, inspired me to write a book to impact others. And our students are now impacting others. Our mission is to help 1 million families prepare their children for college and get out debt-free. We have a special project that helps students figure that out. We have recently built 3 schools in Uganda where our students use their passion to change people's lives. That's all part of the process. So you may be in a household where the problem is my teen has no idea what they want to do. I get on calls with teenagers all day long. And what I do know is if I ask them and they don't know, it's almost like downcasting. It's almost like they feel sad they don't know. After I assure them that that is quite all right, I also want to encourage them to start to look into what that might be. So, see our future now was created. And even if you're like, this is genius, I'm going to do this, it can be done at home, right? If your child will listen to you. That's the caveat. So, the first meeting we meet with students, we ask them, who are you? What matters to you? How others see you? How you see yourself? We help them to map out a career based on their gifts, their talents, their passion, and their advocacy. We help them understand that college is an investment and will they get a return on that investment? Then we help them put it all together and ultimately decide, should it be college? Should it be a trade school? The big thing right now is I want to be an influencer until I ask them, have you created your business plan? And then they're like, I don't know how to do that. So we gently guide them to that self exploration, which is really going to set them up for their future success. Maybe this problem is more like you. We don't know how to start, when to start, where to start. So now's where I'm going to explain what colleges are looking for and how you can navigate this process. So the first thing is the academic strategy. How many AP, IB, dual enrollment? Are you starting to feel your blood pressure go up? So sorry, I'm just the messenger. Their academic strategy is critical for their success, but it doesn't mean they have to take every hard class the school offers. It needs to be a mapped out plan. The next one is the assessments to help them figure out all of the information, but more importantly, after the information, what do you do with it? How do I translate who I am to what I want to do? Then we help them understand that testing is not optional if you would like a scholarship or if you would like to go to a school where testing is not optional. Keep in mind, it is changing daily who will stay optional and who will not. So just be mindful. That's going to be an important factor. The next one is leadership. Why do colleges want to see leadership? Is because they're not looking for students to come to their school and take an education and leave. They're looking for students to come and lead others to create change and make their school amazing. They're looking for students who are more than just a GPA and a test score. No longer are those two things the only thing you need to get in. On the Common App, you have 10 activities, honors, and awards. On the UC app, you have 20. Feel that blood pressure going up. Again, I am sorry. But it's better to know now, right? We start this process when students are in 7th and 8th grade and all the way through until they leave for college. So it's not too early and it's never too late to get this work accomplished. Asking letters of recommendation it's so critical because it shows another side of your student. It's another adult speaking about your child. So asking the right people, really important. The essay, parents don't know when you went to college. When I went, there were 2 essays. Now there are anywhere between 5 and 18 essays per college. It is a very different scenario. And I want you to know that students need to be doing things that they love, that they can write about and enjoy the essay. Then we look at, how do you do this? We do it with passion, with purpose. We do it one-on-one. We do it in small groups. And then we also help families understand the financial strategy. Last year, our students earned 23 million in scholarships on top of need-based. That was 51 students. Parents, there is a ton of money out there. Don't believe everything you see. It is not dire. We are FAFSA, CSS Profile, and SAI strategists. We want you to be able to get into the dream school and out debt-free. So if you're feeling like I need additional help, we can help you. If you're feeling I've got this, I applaud you. I spent about 30 hours a week helping my firstborn get through the process. So what I ended up doing is I took those 33 spreadsheets and I had an amazing computer person build us a vault with 17 years of my intellectual property. For sake of time, I am not going to share the video, but if you go to crfuturenow.com, you can look on here, press play, and in 5 minutes, it will show you how to organize the entire college admissions process. Get rid of the overwhelm. It's not necessary. With that said, I want to make sure that I keep my promise and tell you what colleges are looking for. The first one is GPA. That will never change, right? So how much rigor? That depends on the child. Having a test strategy, where to test, how many times to test, how to prepare. Passion with purpose. Colleges are not looking for students to sign up, show up, check a box. They're looking for students to create something that is going to change another person's life. That's what colleges are looking for. We help students do it every day. It's not as scary as it might sound. Leadership, help your child become a leader on stage, in the band, in ASB, whatever their love is, that's what they need to lead. Extracurriculars, finding that passion, that thing that gets your student up in the morning on an early Saturday, that's a good extracurricular. Recommenders, so important to ask the right people. Remember, the essay is the icing on the cake. It is the final way to show colleges who you are and what matters. Picking the right college list, how many colleges reach comfort and safety, and ultimately academic fit, social fit, and financial fit is how you're going to be successful. And if you do that right, you will get in and out of college debt free. So I know I did a fire hose. I realize there's a ton of information. On this website, I give you scholarship opportunities. I'm really about free resources. How can I help? So here are opportunities for scholarships. Here's an opportunity for my best-selling book. Here's an opportunity on getting your student aid index calculated so you'll know how much money colleges think you should pay. So again, just information. I want you to think about your child, getting them through this while enjoying the process, right? Getting them into college is not the hard part. Getting them out of college debt-free, that's a challenge, but it is completely doable. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Sheri, and she's going to give you a little of her background, and she's going to take you through the emotional and social preparedness.
Thank you for that. So much information. And I just want to start by telling all of you, I have 3 kids of my own in their 20s. 2 of them have already gotten out of college. One is a junior in Boston. So take a deep breath if you're in this process. Once they go through the process and they get into college, it's just a relief. And some of it you realize, oh, I didn't need to stress that much. And some of it you're like, oh, okay, I could have used some help along the way. But great information, Shelley. So, but for all of you, just know this is not going to be as difficult as people make it seem, especially with someone like Shelley helping you along the way. So, lots of talk about college preparation. And there's one thing that I find often gets left out of the conversation. We talk about the finances, which is really important, right? What school, what major, and there's so many things we talk about. But being socially prepared for college, it's like crickets. And everybody forgets about that. And they just think it's going to magically happen. It's really, there's not a special magic social connection that happens when a teen steps onto their college campus. And let me share my screen here so that you can see my slides. There we go. Okay. All right, so this is the message that teens often get. They hear that college is going to be the best years of your life. You're going to make lifelong friends. You're going to have so many opportunities. And all of these things, they can be true, possibly. But the reality is this: there's a moment that they step onto their college campus and they enter this like lifeless college room, like this dorm room that's stripped of their personality. There's no signs of their home, the sanctuary of their bedroom where they spent many hours when they were with you, and not yet anyway. So you help your teen get settled in, right? And I noticed that with girls, they bring a lot of stuff to decorate. With boys, not so much, but they have some of their personality that comes into the room. I had to laugh. I was taking my daughter to college. We had a full car, and then she had stuff already delivered. And these two boys pulled up in front of us. Each of them had 2 suitcases and walked up and went in their dorm room. I was like, wow, there's a difference there. I thought it was kind of funny. But I want you to think about, you walk into this dorm room and you're helping them get all set up. And then there's this moment. There's a moment where you have to walk away. And for you as a parent, there may be some tears, there may be some relief even. For your teen, imagine that in your dorm room for the first time, for most kids, for an extended period of time away from their parents. And there's this twinge that they get. It's a twinge of loneliness, that feeling of, I'm really doing this and I'm really going away from home. So it's important to recognize that what often stands in the way of creating the robust social life that most teens desire, there's a few things, right? There's loneliness, there's a blank slate, there's patterns that they're bringing, and there's the plan that hopefully will help them to create the social connection that they want. Now, loneliness, I want to talk about this because this is very important. It's a real issue in college, and it's different than the feeling of homesick. Whenever you leave, probably you leave home and maybe go on vacation, there's maybe that feeling of missing your own bed or missing the things that you know. So there's a feeling of being on your own, right? When you're lonely, you feel unsupported and unseen and unheard. And college students report an extremely high level of loneliness. Of the students surveyed in one research, 60% of them said that in the last 2 years of college that they felt significantly lonely. Not for all of the time, but there were periods where they felt significantly lonely. And the same research, when they asked kids about this, they said in the last 2 weeks, 30% said that they felt significantly lonely. At the University of Washington, they surveyed the kids that were leaving, either transferring or dropping out of college. 41% said that they were leaving because they felt socially disconnected, socially isolated. That's a lot of people leaving college, their dream, because they didn't get the social connection. Now, we all feel lonely from time to time, right? That's not a big deal. But when it sets in for a significant period of time, it begins to alter a lot of things. Loneliness can actually become part of someone's identity, of who they feel that they are. I'm a lonely person. I'm a lonely college student. And it also alters the way that they see the world around them. And not just the world, but more importantly, when we're talking about the social scene, they begin to see the people around them differently. Now, when people take on loneliness as part of their identity, what they start to do is they behave differently. They don't talk to others as much. They don't smile as much. They don't engage in conversations as much. They very rarely initiate those conversations. This is when they take on loneliness as who they are. So they might stop going to club meetings. Maybe they signed up for clubs, but that loneliness kicks in. They might put their AirPods on or AirPods in, and then they put their hoodies on. Many of you have probably seen this in high schoolers as well already. So they begin to see themselves as the person that doesn't have friends. And when you label yourself as I'm the lonely person, guess what? You find evidence to prove that. So loneliness creates loneliness. And when your teen feels that pang of loneliness in their dorm room, it's a warning signal. Their brain is saying, hey, you need to connect, because we as human beings are actually wired to connect with each other. So if nothing is done when this warning signal starts to come up, what happens is the loneliness is like, okay, let's get something done here. So that takes a real downward spiral, and it leads to a lot of other issues. It creates more isolation, right? If you feel like you are the lonely person and that's your identity, then you begin to isolate purposefully almost. The social confidence then takes a dive, and they forget of all the choices that they actually do have when it comes to their social life. So they just kind of accept, I'm lonely. They start to feel invisible because they are making themselves invisible. And the isolation and the feelings of helplessness and hopelessness, that can lead to depression. And when depression kicks in, that leads to more escalation of this isolation, less motivation. And all of these together become the new identity. If loneliness isn't dealt with, if it keeps on going, and the teen latches onto that feeling of loneliness and feels like there's no other option. And what happens is this, as you can imagine, it leads to lower grades, to lower participation in curricular activities, to lower enjoyment of college that they've been dreaming of and working so hard for, and a decrease in their mental wellness. And oftentimes this leads to them either dropping out of college or transferring. So this is why this is so important to talk about, because while they may be the best students and they're excited about college, if the social piece of it isn't there for many kids, this means that this dream they've been working so hard for is no longer their dream. Now, for those of you who have teens in high school who are currently very socially connected, I want to point something out that is very vital. College is a blank slate when it comes to the social world. So the identity that your teen has been building up for so many years is now reset when they hit college. It can be actually great for a lot of kids, right? If they were like, high school wasn't great, I want a new start, fresh start, that's great. And perhaps they can reinvent themselves even. But so for all of the kids going to college, it is a new community. It's a new culture. They're surrounded by new people, new teachers. It's all different. For some people in high school, they enjoyed a certain kind of social status, like the all-star quarterback, right? He goes to college, that's not his status anymore. I'm the student body president. They may be completely unknown on their college campus. Definitely are when they walk on, right? There might be a dancer who is a competitive dancer and she had to leave her dance studio. Or the person who won the state track meet, right? For all of these examples, the identity of these kids is very heavily based on their community and the recognition within that community of the things that they have done. So when they go to college, they're not handing out their resumes. They're not saying, look at all of these things that I've accomplished. Look at all of these things I've done. For many of our high achieving kids, they get to college and it's like, whoa, everybody around me has done these things I've done or better. So what's really key is that your child's identity is not wrapped up in the accomplishment, but what were their characteristics that allowed them to achieve? Or even if it's not an achievement, what was their characteristic that made them a horseback rider? Or just a creative writer, things that maybe they didn't get recognition for, but something about them. What were those characteristics? And that's your job between now and when they hit college campus, is to really start to look at what is it that made them the person they are right now? What are the qualities that they're going to take with them and share with other people and other friends versus what are the accomplishments that they can talk about? Have them think about what makes them unique. The other thing we need to consider is this. They don't bring their community with them, right? They don't bring their identity with them. the achievement identity, but they do bring behavioral patterns with them. And this can be good for some and not so good for others, depending on what their patterns are. And their patterns, by the way, started developing their friendship and relationship patterns when they started middle school, pretty much. There's some that start when they're younger, but as far as their academic patterns, definitely middle school is when that really kicks in, but their social patterns really kick in middle school. So some of the things that may have happened in middle school and high school is that they were kind of choosing incompatible friends, people that didn't lift them up and make them feel good about life and about themselves. Maybe they weren't setting healthy boundaries. Maybe they were isolating themselves already in middle school and high school, or they started distrusting friends. This might have been through some friendship drama that was going on. They might have taken on the role of the doormat, letting people just walk all over them or being taken advantage of. Or maybe they were in the middle of any social drama that occurred. So these are some of the negative patterns that you have to consider. You got to recognize them, evaluate them, and help your child to release them and change those patterns, because they don't just get on college campus and everything changes. So if your teen is struggling in high school, please don't just send them off to college expecting this like magical change in their social world. Get them support so they head off with a new sense of excitement about their social life, a new sense of confidence and resilience, because we want them to hit college campus having a plan, right? Now, for those of you who have really super social kids right now, and you're looking at them thinking they are social, they talk to people, and this is not going to be a problem, don't be surprised if they do struggle a little bit as well, because it is a new environment, especially if your kids and you have lived in one place for a very long time. Because this whole idea of creating new friendships may be a completely new skill and completely new concept for them. So I know I've kind of, what I've covered so far might feel a little bit heavy, maybe even a little bit negative to some of you, but I like to think of it as awareness. If we are aware of some of these things that are going on with our kids or potentially could go wrong, we can then make some positive changes. Awareness equals positive change. So let's get to the positive, the change part. It's a really smart move for your teen to create what I call a friendship plan for when they head to college. It's more than just talking to people, just joining clubs, or just being busy. It's a solid plan to figure out, what are they wanting and needing in their social life? Do they want a lot of friends? Do they want just one or two friends? Do they want friends to do fun things with, like hiking or painting? Or do they want study partners? Do they want party partners? We probably don't want that for them, but they may want that. It's also good to take stock in what they're interested in before they head to college. So to think about, what are they currently doing that they are super interested in and want to continue doing when they hit the college campus. They can start doing some, and this is also when they're choosing their college, start doing some research to see what's offered at the college. And so the things they're already interested in, and then think about, what do they want to explore next? College is about exploration. So have them think about, what clubs are there? What do you want to join? What do you want to learn? What do you want to do with your time there? I'll tell you, with my own child who's a junior now in Boston, all of her life outside of her school, outside of her classes, that is what is most enriching in her life. And that, by the way, is what is going to get her the job that she wants and the career that she wants. So don't underestimate all of that extra stuff, how important it is. Now, with their confidence and their mindset and their resilience, this is so key to them hitting college, having a great social life, and that in turn helps them with academics. Because if they have an enriching social life, their endorphins are up, their mood is up, their energy is up, and they see the big picture versus just, studying. Because when it's all study, it's not an enriching experience for them. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, I think is the quote from The Shining. It's really something that you have to consider for your own kids. So when their confidence, their mindset, and their resilience is boosted up and they're ready for this new world, what happens is they'll recognize what they have to offer in a friendship, which gives them the confidence to ask other people to do things or to ask for a number when they're going to need help in a class, just to socialize and talk to people. And there's the potential for rejection. But if they come in with a solid foundation of this confidence and mindset and resilience, they can handle that rejection. We all are rejected almost on a daily basis in some way in our lives. So it's okay to be rejected, but our kids need to be in a good mental health space in order to deal with that rejection in a positive way. So then all of these things are things to think about and consider. And then there's the actual friendship plan. So this starts before they get to college, especially if your kid is an introvert or shy. So think about, how are they going to connect with people before they even arrive on campus? Now, this is one of those great things about social media, right? We've got a lot of negative things to say as parents, but they connect people now. They tell them who their roommate is. So they do really quick search and find them on Instagram or wherever it is, Snapchat for some of them, and start conversing. Not all kids do this, but they can really get to start knowing each other before they even get to their dorm room, which is very key, especially for introverts and shy kids. And if your kid's the extrovert, encourage them to do this and to pull out the other kids who are a little more shy and introverted. So have them think about that and have them realize how important it is to do that. And if they think it's awkward, say, hey, start planning who's bringing what to the dorm room. Start asking about decor. Start asking about details. You don't have to get into personal life yet, right off the bat. That's a great place to start. Then think about, what are they going to do during move-in to attract people to them? It's the little things you can think about. Keeping your door open, having candy or cookies, having some music playing, asking people for help. Can you hold the door for me? Holding the door for other people, interacting even during that move-in. And then consider, what are the welcome events offered, and take advantage of those. Even if they're shy, a little overwhelmed by crowds, go in with a plan. I'm going to visit 2 booths or something like that and go to those welcome events. In classes, how are they going to connect with people? Are they going to ask people, hey, let's do a study group? When are they going to do this? First day of class is the best day. What clubs are they interested in? They need to join it and figuring out how to actually be a part of it. Just signing up your name on the paper is not good enough. Teens can't just sit around and hope that friends are going to flock to them. They really have to make active choices when they get to college to create the social life that they want, to create the connections that are going to counteract the feeling of loneliness. And those connections, those friends, are going to offer support and guidance and compassion throughout the college years so that they can get through college. You as a parent, of course, you're going to support your kids through, but this transition into adulthood, they should really be creating connections around them for their support system. So I would encourage all of you to have a conversation with your teens, even if they're in middle school, even if they're in a junior or a sophomore. Start talking about these things, start noticing their social patterns, and start encouraging them during these years when you have a say and you can guide them. Start on this journey now, but you have to have this conversation so that they can start that next chapter of their lives really ready to take on the social aspect of it. Let them know you're there for them, for the support if you need it. Let them know that you understand it's not going to always be easy, that there might be moments where they're feeling lonely. And remember that it's not as easy as just go do that thing. Because I hear from a lot of teens, their parents say, just go talk to somebody, just invite somebody to coffee, just. And it's not always that easy. So for ongoing connection with me, you can join my Facebook group, which is what that QR code is for. And if your child is heading off to college next year, or if they're in high school and they're having friendship issues, you can contact me about private coaching. I've got my email there. And if you have questions, follow-up questions about tonight, you can always email me as well. All right, Shelley, did you want to open it up for some questions?
Absolutely. So at this point, I would encourage you to, if you want, put them in the Q&A so we can make sure that we answer them. It could be on college planning, it could be on careers, it could be on emotional support. It could really be on whatever you have a heart to get answers to. So feel free. We have recorded this. And so if you need any support to reach me, all you need to do is go to collegereadyplan.com. And I have gifted you a 30-minute discovery call with myself where you can ask questions that you may not want to ask to the group. It may have to do with the FAFSA. It may have to do with picking the right college. Just know that we do these, we don't charge for them. We do them because we're passionate about this. And so we're here for you. We are both parents, we get it. And thank you so much for attending. Here's a question. Awesome. Let's see. What do you think about running start plan? What do you think about running start plan? I don't know what running start plan is.
In my district, there's something called Running Start. So I'm gonna guess this might be about that. And this is when you start taking, most kids are leaving the high school campus and going over to our Bellevue College, what used to be a community college, now it's a Bellevue College, and they can start taking classes there. And which affects two things. It affects the social piece, but it also affects going to college, and they get some credit and such. So why don't you talk to it? I assume they're wanting to know about how this affects college applications.
So that would be the academic and rigor puzzle piece. And why it really depends on the student. Some students are mature enough to walk on campus, hold their head high, and just make friends. Other students would be terrified if you asked them to do that. Is it necessary to get into college? No. If you're financially conscientious, it's huge. College credit's college credit. And if you can knock that out, dual enrollment is by far my favorite situation because they're at the high school with their smart little friends and the teachers academically challenging them. So they're really enjoying school. But if your school doesn't have dual enrollment and your child is emotionally ready to be on campus, wonderful. Do they need it? No. So it really depends on what's most important to your family and ultimately what's right for your child.
Yeah, and I'll say that having kids who did that, one of my kids did, she really did go into college with some credits. And one place where it did affect her tremendously was, first of all, she got to graduate in 3 years, but also she had a higher status when she was choosing her classes. So, and at a place like University of Washington around the corner here, it's really difficult to get into classes. So that was a really good reason for her to do that. And then there's a lot of kids who are graduating from that college with doing the Running Start with an associate's degree. They've already got literally a skill they could go out into the workplace. So that's pretty awesome. I will speak to that from a social standpoint. That depends. Like there's some kids who are kind of done with the high school world and they're like, I can't stand another year of the high school social scene. And so they go to Running Start and then they're disconnected from high school. They don't go to any of the games. They don't visit any of their friends. So be mindful of that. If your kids are going to do that, are they socially disconnecting or are they having social life somewhere else?
Yeah, her follow-up is her son is the one who's interested. And I
Hmm.
always say, students, they're still learning. And it may sound great because a friend may do it, or, a sister's brother's da 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 da. I would encourage, right, the walking on campus. And I would encourage, before you sign them up, to just really kind of like you would a museum, like you would going somewhere else, is just kind of get the lay of the land. Now, I do know I have a lot of students in my program that are insanely confident, and they walk on there like they own the place.
Right.
And hey, it's perfect for them. I don't believe this is one size fits all. I think even in, multiple children in one family, it would be answered differently. So I really do believe that if your student has the desire, don't hold them back. It won't hurt them to go forward. And, hopefully they'll find something that they are encouraged by when they get there. All right. Next question. If child fails to get into a school team or club, what to do? Are they very important for the resume? So do you want to start with this, Sheri, or do you want me to take it?
Yeah, so if a kid fails to get into school, so the teams I get, like sometimes it's a cut sport, and so they don't allow everyone on the team. Clubs, there most of the time you can get into a club if you want to. So I'm gonna assume on this one that they maybe aren't wanting to do the club, perhaps. You don't have to do it through school. Like, find out, let your kids find out what they're not necessarily even passionate about. I don't like this idea that your kid has to have their passion by the time they're 7 years old, right? But to think about what is it that brings joy into your child's life. Because when there's joy in life, there's motivation, you want to get up out of bed in the morning. And so think about what that is. Notice what it is. And for a lot of us parents, when we start thinking about college, we're thinking about, oh, but is that going to help them get into college? Instead, think about what's going to light them up, because that's going to help them get into college when they're lit up about life.
So true. The other part to that is failure's okay. I know it's such a hard subject as a parent, but there's so much that can be written about failure, picking themselves back up, understanding there's another opportunity. I remember when my son got into college and then decided he didn't want to play a sport anymore. And I was like, whoa, didn't see that coming after all those years and all.
Right.
Yeah, I sat on the soccer field for a lot of years too.
Right.
And he just like, done. And he walked on to Harvard campus and said, you know what? Never been in a boat, but I want to row crew. So he just did it. Why is that important? Is because he knew it was okay to fail and try again. So I just want to, it's okay to let students fail safely at home, so you can help guide them and encourage them back to trying something else. A lot of students that I get to meet with, they don't ever fail. And when they go to college, they're no longer what you're talking about, the top tier,
Yeah.
and they don't know how to handle it. At Harvard, my son was an RA. And so he had all the students coming to him who were struggling with homesickness and such. And he had to deal with some not so happy students who were feeling homesick because they weren't the top tier student anymore.
Yeah.
So it's okay to fail. As far as the resume goes, colleges want to know, who is your student? If your student is just on their phone and their computer, that's the problem, right?
Mhm.
It's not them failing. It's if they didn't have the computer and the phone, what would they be doing? Wow, what a concept. So
Mhm.
it's the resume is, what has the student done? If the student hasn't done anything, what can the student do? Sheri, any other thoughts?
Yeah, I think on the failure piece, so important that your kids are allowed to fail. And I know that some parents, they completely panic when their kids failing, like they fail a test or a subject, that, oh my gosh, they're not going to get into college now. And when we are catastrophizing with their failures, they pick up on that and then they don't want to fail. So when they get to college, a lot of these really high achieving kids, they get to college and they don't get an A, and their mental health just goes to pieces because they don't understand what this means. They're worried their parents are going to be disappointed. They're disappointed in themselves. So it's actually really great to have those failures ahead of time and really pay attention to how you're reacting to those failures.
Mm, so hard. So hard, right?
Oh,
That
yeah.
self like, whoa, I can't believe I did that. All right. Another question. My daughter's a junior and a great student, but her only activity has been softball, school and travel teams. I'm now afraid that it's too late to distinguish herself for college applications at top schools. So I deal with scholar athletes all the time. I was a scholar athlete and I actually played softball for the USA. So I feel qualified to help answer this. Colleges want to know what's important to your child. I know it seems so weird, but at the same time, I want you to think about if she has one thing on the activities, honors, and awards section and 9 other blank spots, they're not going to learn all of who she is. But does that mean she has to do a ton of crazy, intense stuff? No. It could be a CPR class online. It could be learning how to cook Italian. There's so many things that a student can do that is not time intensive because scholar athletes, wowza, that is time intensive. So you can build her resume with things that she would want to do on the weekend, regardless of college, that they're going to want to know. Sheri, you want to share?
Yeah, and even if it is softball, maybe she's helping teach younger kids softball. Like she can even take that one thing and expand it into more things. But yeah, you're right that if someone's at this level of competition in their athletics, you don't want to all of a sudden say, okay, honey, to get into college, you need to now go volunteer 20 hours a month and go, their mental health won't be able to take it and they're just going to be stressed to the max. So I love this concept of things that don't take a lot of time, but adding to stuff they're going to enjoy. It goes back to what is going to light her up.
For sure. All right. Another question. Do you have a favorite college filtering tool? So if we want to look up schools, okay. I love this question because I'm about return on investment. What I want you to do is open your mind for a moment because it's going to be counterintuitive and you're probably going to just be like, whoa, didn't see that coming. But it is actually cheaper many, 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 many times to go to a private school that's a good academic, social, and financial fit than a cheap state school. Why? Because overcrowded, right? 4-year state schools sometimes take 5 or 6 years to get out for a 4-year degree. And then you're like, whoa, nobody told me that. And then there's other things that private schools, they may meet 100% in need. If your family has need and they can get in, you're covered. It's cheap to do it that way. So I would encourage you not to filter by doing it that way, but to really get clarity about the process and finding the best fit school. Because when your child is, think about it this way. If your child applies to a top tier school, every school is going to be competitive and it's going to be tough. If it's a comfort school, they have a 50-50 shot. And guess what? They could get a ton of money with that 50-50 shot. And if it's a safety school, there's buckets of money because they're going to be chasing you down. So I understand the brochures and be careful. US News and World Report is a dangerous place to go because it's all about how many people apply who shouldn't be applying and how many people say yes. Okay. These brochures are causing children to apply to schools that they should never be applying to, but college is a business. Every application's $100-something. And guess what? It's a money-making thing. So I remember the first time my son goes, "Oh my gosh, mom, USC wants me. I got a brochure. They said I get a free application. Like they really want me." And I'm like, I was shocked. I'm like, how is a reach school, you know? So it's flattering and just go, you know what? You're right. You absolutely have a shot if that's where you want to go. I never discourage a student. But USC gave my son a full ride scholarship. That's $75,000 a year. Okay. And UCLA was going to make us pay $36,000 a year. We're in California. Which one of those is a better deal? So it's not what you think, it's counterintuitive. Sheri, any other thoughts?
I will say that my daughter's at Boston U, and most of the people she knows are either on a full ride or most of their college is being paid for and getting stipends. So I mean it's yeah, I don't know what the full fee is there, but it's not cheap, I know. And so yeah, I like that advice. Don't let that kind of stop you. And I would add, have that conversation with your kids beforehand. You can apply to these places, but it will depend on if we get scholarships as to whether or not you can go. I know some people don't have that conversation and then they're like, "Oh, I got into my dream school." It's like, yeah, but honey, you can't go. And then they're, like, why not? We didn't talk about this. So I think that's an important conversation to have.
So wise. I had that with my second child. Her dream school was University of Alabama. Again, I'm in California. I'm like, what is wrong with California? She goes, Mom, the football and the sorority. And I'm like, are you going to school for football and sorority? I said, I'm not paying for that. I go, if you get a full ride, I'll give you a hug, a kiss, and drop you off. And she did.
Mhm.
So it's a perfect thing, but having the conversation ahead of time and having a realistic budget, because the last thing we want to do is set them up for failure. They get all
Yeah.
excited, they get in, they work hard, and then you have to have the adult conversation of you can't get that loan, right?
Mhm.
So with that, I really thank you all for being on the call. Thank you, Sheri. If anybody has any particular questions, please reach out to Sheri or myself, and we would be more than happy to help you. Again, thank you for your time, and we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.